Hey everybody, we're now going to be making the signatures to our book. Now this particular book here, I just have the card stock rather than the paper that I used in the previous one. So if you want to do that, you follow the exact same instructions as the one that I previously showed you. Now if you haven't seen that video yet, I'll put a link right here in the video as well as a link down below so that you can click on it, follow it, and get the information. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put them down below for me, and I'll go ahead and make sure that I see them or respond to you. But enjoy yourself and have fun with this technique. It's one that you use in no matter what size of book that you have or how many pages that you have in your signature. So it's a real skill that's good to have. So enjoy yourself and be proud of yourself when you're complete. So now what we're going to do, we're going to cut our pieces for the signatures. A signature is what we call the inside pages of your book. I need 2 pages that I want to cut. So I've got 2 pages here, and this time I'm going to cut it in the opposite direction. I'm just going to cut this in half. So a half of 8.5, a half of 11 is 5.5. So I'm going to cut it at the 5.5 mark. And then I still have the 8.5 inches along that edge. So I've got 2 pieces the same size. I'm going to cut another one. And I have a total of 4 pages. 2 of them I'm going to be using in the inside. 2 of them I'll be using for other parts of the book. So go ahead and take your pages and fold them in half. And then put them aside. So now that we have the cover and the 2 pages cut, I want to cut the doilies that are going to go in the book in between the pages. This right here. So those are found on page 4. The page numbers are in the blue, page 4 of your guide. Go ahead and cut those out, and you'll notice that there's a little piece right there that's connected. Cut around that. So cut to there. And as you go on this side, cut to there. I designed it like that so that you can fold the doily in half if you want to have the same doily pattern on both sides. Let me show you what I mean. So this one here, I don't have the doily pattern on the other side. It's just white. Some people won't like that, and they'll want to have the actual pattern on the other side rather than the doily image. Let me show you what it looks like when they're put together. So in this book here, I made it, and I have the doily doubling over. So there's not a right way or a wrong way. It really just is whatever way that you prefer it to be. So let me go along and cut, and I'll show you how to make the double doily, or if you want to just use the single doily, you can do that. So right here we're getting towards that little edge there. Rather than cut through that line, I'm going to flip it, and I'm going to cut up like this. And I'm leaving that little white edge. If I wanted to, I could cut right along that red line. I could cut past the red line so that it's right against the doily edge. I'm choosing to cut just outside that line, leaving a little teeny tiny lip. And then when I put my doily together, if I need to cut off anything, I'll cut it off at that point. So now we're approaching that next lip. Rather than cut right there, can you see that? I'm going to turn, and I'm going to cut over here again. And cut the rest of the way. So now that I have that, I can fold it and see how nicely they fold together. And because I've left that white lip around, a little bit of white when it sticks over, I can't tell if it's the white lip that I have on the outside or if it's a little from the other side peeking out. At this point, what I can do is take a little bit of my glue and put along the edge of my doily and a little bit of glue in the middle to hold it in place. You don't want to have too much on there because it'll really stiffen up your doily. And you don't want it too stiff when it's in the middle of the book. So whether you have one piece of the doily with a blank side or you have two pieces of doily, go ahead and fold it in half. Once I have this and I'm confident that it's secured and the glue's tight and all, I can go ahead and go back and make a little indentation in that spot that I didn't clip out when I was making it previously. So if you have a bone folder, you can go ahead and do a little edge on this. You don't have to, it just gives it a little bit tighter of a crease. So this is the order that we're going to do our book in. We're going to have the cover, we're going to have one sheet, we're going to put another sheet in there, and then we're going to have the top sheet. At this point, we're ready to do our sewing. For our sewing, what we're going to want to do is hold our pieces together and have them in the position we want. So you want to make sure that your top lip, can you see that? And your bottom lip in between your page and your cover are kind of equal distance. Put them together and turn your page up, and you want to look to make sure your doily is kind of positioned in between. If you want it higher or lower, you can do that too, but at this point you want to have your pieces aligned where you want them to be. I like taking a clip. I have these clips that I just got at the dollar store, and then I will place them on to hold. You can also use your paper clips to hold in place, but you want something to just kind of secure it a little bit. Ideally, at this point, you want some kind of a book to create a little cradle to put your book in, to punch holes in it. This is just an old book that I've got that's cut apart. It's got that inside here. I'm going to put my book in there and kind of hold it down to have it hold that little cradle shape so that I can pierce it. You want to have a pokey tool. You can use this one. There's also smaller awls and things that you can use. I'm going to use this one today. You don't want to poke it really deep because it gets wider as you go farther up this. You just want enough of a poke within your paper so that your needle can go through easily. So for this book, I want to have a hole in the middle of the book. So I'm just going to take my pokey tool and I poke a little hole. And I'm going to do mine about 1 inch up. And the reason I'm choosing to go 1 inch up on such a small book, I want to try to get it so that it catches this doily. So I'm going to go right there. And then I'm going to go about the same distance over here. You can measure this if you want. It's for me, it's not important. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it and see where it goes for where I want it. So now that I have that, I want to grab needle and thread and begin the sewing. For sewing your book, what we're going to do today is use a crochet thread. This is actually a crochet thread that I just picked up at the thrift shop. You can get it there easily, but it's even very inexpensive just to buy straight up from your hobby shop. So before I thread it, let me tell you how much you're going to need. I put on the pattern that you're going to need about 15 to 20 inches. The rule of thumb is you want to go 3 times the amount of the length, the width of the book. So I've got 3 there. Let's see how it goes inchwise here. And that's 15 inches. So I'm going to clip it off and we're ready to go with that. I'm going to thread the needle. This particular needle that I'm using right here is a DMC needle. So it's got a nice size head that I can get this thread into. And I say that as it's not going in. Okay, once you have your needle threaded, go ahead and grab your book and you're going to start a pattern that I call Innie Outie Outie Innie. Now let me show you on the pattern page. We're going to go in this pattern, we're going to go in the inside circle, punch hole, the outside, the inside. So if you forget from the video, you have your pattern you can look at. So we've got the innie. You're going to pull it. I like holding my thread over here with something because otherwise it might pull through. It's done that a few times. Now I'm going to do outie. So these are the outside holes. I have one on the bottom and I have one on the top. It doesn't matter which one you go through. Just go through one of the outie holes and bring it in. Once you're here, the next is the outie. So you're going to go through the next outie hole right there. And you're going to have a strip that goes across. My thread is on the right hand side of the strip. The next thing we want to do is go through the innie. Going through this innie now, I want my thread to go on the other side of this strip. So I'm going to just lift it up so my thread can poke out and come out on the opposite side of this initial strand. I'm going to pull this taut. I'm going to make sure both sides are okay, and then I'm going to tie it up. Now ideally what bookmakers use is a wax thread. The wax thread has a little bit more grip to it when you're tying it and the like. It makes it slippery. I mean, there's a variety of reasons why that's used. Because I'm not using a wax thread, I like putting just a little teeny tiny dot of glue on my knot so that it doesn't come undone. You can go ahead and remove your clips and we're good to go on to the next part.